Greetings and welcome back, Gadgeteers. Today we're just going to do a short informal video. I haven't really had a health update video in a while, so I thought maybe I would go ahead and do one. For those of you who are not aware, and I'll do my 2-minute intro here, I have a disease called dilated cardiomyopathy, and it's of a type called non-compaction, which basically means it was congenital. And what it indicates is that about the time I was born, my heart began to enlarge and the left ventricle wall of my heart began to thicken and harden, and it couldn't beat very well. Luckily, it was discovered. I have had relatives who have died from sudden cardiac death, and if I didn't have the medicine I'm taking and the left ventricle assist device, which is inside this bag here, I'll give you a quick look. See if you can see that. Okay, this right here is the controller device, and this white line here actually runs into my belly, and what the white line is for is to send and receive data from the pump inside my chest, but also to send power. You may notice that there's two lines here, one that has a black ending excuse me, and one that has a white ending. The white ending also transmits data and power. Actually, this one doesn't transmit power, I don't think. And then the one with the black ending, that transmits only power into the device. So if any one of these cables became disconnected, we have two because they're backups. It would begin beeping. I'll tell you what, I'll take a battery out so you can hear what it sounds like. Should start beeping here pretty quick. There we go. The faster the beep and the louder it is, the more urgent it is. So it doesn't like when I take the batteries out unless I have a clear purpose, which is usually to replace them because they're running out of juice. Anyway, put that one back in. And the controller here is an interesting device. It actually gives you quite a bit of information. I realize this is going to be upside down for you and you probably won't be able to read the screen anyway. One of the more important ones is called flow, and my flow currently is 3.7. I believe it can go a maximum of 5. If it gets to 2.5, I'll get a low flow alarm, which basically means I don't have enough liquid, aka blood, pumping through the device so that it can pump correctly. And that's something that I have to take care of right away. It's usually high blood pressure or possibly being dehydrated. Okay, that's the basics. Anyway, I wanted to show you something else with my device here. Inside the controller, there is an emergency battery. So that basically means if these two batteries fail for whatever reason, I have two, the battery on the controller will take over, and it only lasts about 5 minutes. So I have to get on to electrical power, or I have a whole setup that I can switch out in the event that something goes wrong with this. When that happens, when I'm on this controller, the battery, the alarm is terrifying, to put it mildly. I've gotten to hear it a few times. One time was when the power went out in the house and I was on the electrical power, so I had to switch over to my batteries pretty quick. And it's not something you can ignore. It gets your attention really quickly. As a matter of fact, I haven't done a self-test in a while. You're supposed to self-test this every day. And I thought I would do the self-test because it essentially sounds the same as an emergency alarm, basically waking you up or getting your attention and telling you do something. So what I do, all I have to do is hold down the battery test and eventually it will become the self-test. So let's do it. I don't know how loud that was for you. I should have warned you, but for me, it hurt my ears pretty bad. I hope you didn't have headphones on. If so, I apologize. So I've got this device I carry around with me every day, all day. It's not as big of a deal I thought it was going to be. Before I got the surgery, I was depressed and thought that, I would have a hard time dealing with it, but you just kind of forget about all that, and you get along with your life, and you do your thing, and go where you want to, and just get it out of your mind. And I'll be doing something and working on something, shooting a video. I was at a coin shop yesterday, and the batteries went dead, and it does that polite short beep, hello, your batteries are going dead, you got 15 minutes, you really should replace them. And the coin shop owner, he was standing right there, and I looked at my wife, and she looked at me, and she went out to get the next set of batteries, and he said, what's that? And I said, oh, it's my heart pump. The batteries are going dead, so my wife went to get another set. He said, well, I wondered what that was. Just to keep it simple, I call it a heart pump, but it's really a left ventricle assist device, or LVAD. But if you say LVAD, most people, they really don't know what you're talking about, which is understandable. So it's easier to say it's a heart pump, even though the actual pump itself is in my chest. It's not in this bag here. This bag only has the controller, which is a computer, and a couple of batteries. I think the last update I gave you was quite a while ago. I think it was maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks after I'd had my surgery on April 1st, and I had gotten back home. I was still pretty tired and weak, and in some ways I'm not better than I was before I had the surgery to put this LVAD in. In other ways, I am better. So I can do more things, and I don't run out of wind. I can keep breathing. One of the major side effects, if you have heart disease and don't know it, is you can't breathe. So things make you breathless. And many of us will just say, well, it's because I'm out of shape. But if you go see your physician regularly, at some point they'll say, hey, let's just do a quick, maybe one lab test with your cardiologist and see how you're doing. Maybe there's something more significant, and that is precisely how they found out that I had this disease. Had I not gotten the pacemaker defibrillator that I have in my chest, and I've talked about that in previous videos, it's another computer. It's inside the muscle of my chest, and it has wires that run into my heart. When my heart isn't doing well, it will pace it, which basically makes it stronger, at least the contractions. Or if necessary, it will defibrillate me, which means to shock me. And I have been defibrillated with the device. That's a big word. Shocked with my device 2 times. There's no rhyme or reason or logic. One time I was standing up by my bed, and another time I was in the hospital, and I just woke up from sleep, and I opened my eyes, and I got shocked. And luckily somebody was monitoring my heart, and they noticed that it was abnormal rhythm, and they came in and were watching me. and they didn't want to wake me up if I was sleeping, but I woke up myself and then got shocked. So it ended up being low potassium. So you can't have your electrolytes out of balance. The things that you can do when you're healthy are extraordinary that I cannot get away with. My electrolytes, potassium, magnesium, sodium, I'm sure there's more, I just can't think of them right now, must be in what's considered the normal range, period. Because my heart doesn't pump well enough, I'm on water pills. And those basically force the fluid through your kidneys to try and get out as much fluid. Without those, I would start to gain probably 1 to 2 pounds of water weight a day, and I would say 10 to 20 days later I'd be in the hospital or worse. Interesting thing about the water pills is they also dehydrate you. So unfortunately, you can take them and get too dehydrated, so you have to drink a precise amount of fluid, and the best fluid to drink is water. Any clear liquid that's pretty much sugar-free is okay, but you have to keep in mind, if I drink a Diet Mountain Dew, it doesn't do anything for my thirst. I'm still thirsty, which indicates, all the garbage that's in it, and there is some sodium in it, actually set me back. It made me have more fluid on my body without helping with my thirst. What else is new? Well, that's not new. That's kind of old. I started cardiac rehab, which is a fairly intensive program where you go to a gym, essentially, and they start with maybe 20 minutes, and you go to a different device every 4 or 5 minutes, and so you start out with, say, recumbent bike. And then you go to a treadmill, and then they have this machine that kind of reminds me of skiing while you're laying down. That one I actually like. They have another device, which you've probably seen, where you move your hands only. And whenever I've seen somebody on those, I always think, wow, that's got to be incredibly easy. It isn't. It has variable rates of speeds and resistance. So yeah, it can actually be really hard and wear you out pretty quick. So at some point they want to work you up to about 40 minutes, 6 minutes per. Is that what it is? No, I'm sorry. 40 to 50 minutes. So there's 5 devices. They get you up to 10 minutes each device, each machine. And I've been doing it now for, I think, a little over a month. The first 2 or 3 weeks, I walked out of there and could barely walk out of there. And my wife drove, and I would come home and go to sleep and take a nap for 2 to 3 hours. And when I woke up, I didn't feel all that much better. And it was rough. As time went by, after like 3 or 4 weeks, I thought, wow, my heart's finished. I am never going to improve. But the rest of my body did respond. And along with the LVAD and some weight loss, I was able to do quite well. And when I get out of cardiac rehab, I'm still able to do a couple of things. I'm not completely wasted. But by about 8 o'clock at night, all I can think about is going to bed. And it's all I can do to keep myself awake so that I can go to bed at a reasonable hour, like 11 or 12. You might be asking, yeah, but Mark, why do you go to bed so late? Well, There are different times that I have to take medicine. I have a total of 34 pills that I have to take every day. And one of those times is midnight. And you can't, it's not negotiable because there's quite a few pills at midnight, but there's more pills I have to take at 8 in the morning, and even more pills I have to take at noon. So, and of course 4 p.m. as well. It's a very strict schedule. It's not something that I can mess up or forget. There's one little pill called metoprolol that is between me and living in the hospital, and as an example, but it's a very important pill. And we crack it in half because I only need half in the morning and half at night. Without that pill, I probably would get shocked and end up in the hospital. That's the way it is. Let's see. What else do I want to cover? Cardiac rehab. I did have a low flow alarm for the first time. I happened to be standing and talking to a friend of mine who happened to be a nurse, so kind of a good situation to be in. But low flow alarms aren't something you should panic over. I'm well trained with my LVAD, and I took out the controller computer and I know how to check the log, and pretty much knew what it was anyway. Checked, and my flow was low, so I knew it probably was a low flow alarm. So my friend went home, I came into the bedroom, my wife was in there, and I said I think I had a low flow alert. We checked the log, and sure enough I did. So answer to that, drink some fluids and check your blood pressure. It's interesting when you check your blood pressure. Unfortunately, you can't get the bottom number, so we only get the top number. So you know how they say normal's like 110/70? I can only get that top number because of the pump and the way it shoots the blood through me. I don't know the medical terminology, but anyway, that top number, normal being 110 to 120, on me they want below 80 if they can. So 78, 75, no higher than 85. I'm to call the doctor right away if it goes higher than 85. One of the big problems with the left ventricle assist device is unfortunately you can get brain bleeds. So what would happen is you'd get a blood vessel that can't really tolerate the pressures with the LVAD, and it ends up bursting. And if that happens, I would not be able to look at a heart transplant in the future, which I'm working on right now. I have a series of tests I have to go do next week, and more tests. I have to see an eye doctor, and I have to have my teeth checked. They want to make sure there's nothing infected in there because they don't want to put a heart in and then end up infecting the heart and making everything worse. So there is a large series of tests that I have to go through just so I can be placed on the list. My weight needs to remain below 250, and I actually gained 5 pounds, which is not good. So it's my job to lose that weight. I need to be much more consistent. They don't have any tolerance for being over, maybe a little bit, 250 and a half, but I definitely have to pull my weight back down again. Otherwise, they will discontinue the testing and put me in, they call it suspended mode or something like that. Today I was pretty tired, but I didn't go to physical therapy yesterday. So with a riding mower, I mowed lawn, then I weed whacked. And the weed whacking I did for maybe 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and it sucked me dry. I was so tired, and I'm still really tired. And the problem is, if I just go sit down, I want to go to sleep really bad, but that will completely disrupt my sleep pattern, and I'll end up waking up at 2 or 3 in the morning like I did last night and can't sleep. So can't do that. Anything else that I want to mention? I think that's everything. It's one of those deals where there's good days or bad days, and something really bad could happen. I could get a brain bleed, or I don't know, my heart could just give it up. It's not in good shape as it is. They were having a real problem during my surgery in April, keeping my heart running, and they had to switch me over to the bypass machine for about 15 minutes so they could restart my heart, and it didn't look good. They thought I was going to be brain damaged. I said, no, I already was. Just kidding. No, it did do some things to me. My hands shake really bad now, and I can't remember the most basic of words, like blue. The blue water. I'll say the water. Watercolored, and somebody will usually say blue. I'll say, yeah, that. It may not have anything to do with the surgery. It may have to do with taking 34 pills a day. So it really makes me think hard about life, because I realized that, everybody has to take a pill or two sometime in their life. And I begin to realize how close I am to, being snuffed out, basically. There's no tolerance for not getting those pills down. If I start vomiting and I can't get them down, I got to go to the emergency. And the local hospital here is good, but not good enough. They don't handle LVADs. They do, but they're not an LVAD center like the hospital I go to. So I would be immediately moved to another hospital, and it's always touch and go. Same with dehydration or fluid overload, tiredness, exhaustion, overdoing it, all those things that you just don't appreciate when you're young and healthy. And I still, when I ask somebody to do something and I watch them do it and they're just so energetic, it just blows my mind. I had to go do a lab test today, and of course I was taking my water pills, so I had to go to the bathroom. And I went into we were by the restrooms, and I thought, do I want to suffer, or do I want to go in and go to the bathroom? Because believe it or not, it's really hard. It takes an enormous amount of energy for me to stand up and stand still and be able to go to the bathroom, or sit down takes an enormous amount of energy, because believe it or not, pulling your pants up and putting your belt on, back on, and all that is, I've tried to give people a concept of what it's like. It's kind of like sprinting as fast as you can 200 yards and then telling you pull your pants up and get dressed. It's like that. One of the other problems I have, which is quite frequent, is because my blood pressure is so low, guess what happens when I get up? You got it. Very dizzy. A couple of times I have fallen, and the frequency is reduced because I'm now wearing support socks that go up to my knees, and it keeps the blood from pooling down in the bottom part of my legs. So it is helping. I have noticed that it helps. Unfortunately, my blood pressure has to stay that low to protect my brain and hopefully avoid a possible hemorrhagic stroke, which we don't want. If I do have a brain bleed, I'm automatically off the list. I'm not so much bothered by that. I mean, I would like it because I'd rather get a heart transplant and stick around another 25 years. But a lot of people lived a long time on the LVADs. So one way or the other, I'll be here, I hope. I did want to mention, though, it's not the same as some other terminal diseases, where it's slow and it lingers, and, like cancer. I could be here talking to you, creating a video, and then tomorrow I might be gone. Or I may be in the hospital. So if that happens, I have spoke with my wife about posting something. That way you guys know. But let's not think of the macabre. Let's think more positive. I highly doubt it's going to happen, but you never know. But neither does anybody else. I mean, everybody gets in cars every day, and 50, 60,000 Americans die in cars every day. So airplanes, going to get mail, the basics. I have had 2 uncles who passed away going to get the mail, if you can believe it. So I try not to think about it. I mean, there's no point. And I've had a great summer. I've enjoyed immensely the things I've been doing this summer. You may notice I've been getting more videos out. The main reason is, despite being tired and all that, it makes me feel productive, and I enjoy doing it. And it gives me something to do, but not just idle time stuff like watching TV. The feeling of being productive and creating makes me feel really good. So that, you may have noticed this summer, I had an uptick in videos 2 times a week, and I've been trying to keep that up. It's not as easy as it seems. I know there's other YouTubers that do daily videos and multiple videos per day. And to me, that's awesome. It tells me they have a healthy heart. Or they don't, and they don't know it yet. One or the other, but most likely they have a healthy heart, because one of the main side effects is just fatigue, tiredness, just want to go to sleep. I have some new hardware here. I just haven't had a chance yet to get it out and do some fun stuff with it. I have a new computer here. I've always wanted one of these. See if you guys can see it. Make sure the light isn't in the way. This is basically one of those smaller desktop computers. And the reason that I wanted this one so badly was because, I would have taken any one, but this is one that my friend Brian had, and we did a trade. This particular computer is going to do one of 2 things for me. Number one, I could put it with my front TV, my TV in my front room, the nice big one I have, and use this as a media server, which I may do. The other thing I was thinking of doing with it is setting it up right here with my setup, my computer, everything I have here, so that this could be the machine I use when I'm creating thumbnails or browsing the web or doing other work while my main computer is rendering. That way I don't have to use up any processes, any cores, while it's doing the render. And of course, this is actually a 3rd generation Intel Core i5 dual core and Intel HD Graphics 4000. Wow. The other thing I want to do with it is benchmark it and put it on my benchmarks. I realize it's older, and some of you may not care about that, but I like benchmarking older computers because you can have a look at the capability of computers, just a few years ago in comparison to what you have. And maybe some of you have a computer that's a few years old. You don't have $700 to buy a 3950X Ryzen CPU. And so it gives you kind of an idea of where your computer lands. So I do some that are, middle of the road, some that are a little bit lower down, and then some that are higher, like the 3950X here. I don't have a Threadripper, though. I wouldn't mind having a Threadripper, but physically, I don't think I could put it together. I'd have to have one or two people help me out. It's not going to happen anyway. I don't even want a Threadripper, to be honest. I got what I got, and it works very well. What else do I have for you? I think that's everything. If something comes up, I will post it as a message or a picture on my channel. And I want to say, as always, that I really appreciate not only your support on the channel, but your input. I read your messages, even the ones that I don't like. There's messages where people say, hey, why did you do that? And if, as a YouTuber, you're not able to take some criticism, you really shouldn't be a YouTuber. And that's true for many different lines of work. So you do have to have a bit of a thick skin and accept the fact, and I do, that I'm not going to be perfect, and somebody gives me some criticism, I should read it and think about it. The criticism that doesn't help me is, something like stupid or idiot. I see that more than you would think. Also, if you use swear words, you're automatically filtered, and I don't bother going through and checking to see if I should add those. I have thousands, tens of thousands of those at this point. I just can't sit around and go through all the filtered messages that you've left, comments that you've left. So don't use swear words. How about that? Because if you do, you're probably gonna, it will get filtered, like F-head or something like that. I had a couple that were very critical of what I had done, but they took the time to give me really insightful ideas to where I went wrong. And, I think about it, I'm like, I won't do that way again, because that video didn't work out the way I thought it would. So I do appreciate all your comments and read them. And I also appreciate the support I've had over the years with my heart condition, and your understanding, and not being too upset when I don't put out 2 videos a week. It just really depends how I feel. If I don't feel all that good, I probably won't put out 2 videos a week, maybe not even 1 a week. It really depends. The procedure that I'm going to do this coming Thursday, September 17th, is called a right heart catheterization. I've probably done somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 or 10 of these now. However, they always have me sign this form and let me know that you could go into cardiac arrest right on the table, and it's not 100%, blah blah blah. You know the story. If you've ever went to a doctor's office or a hospital and they have to do a procedure, they got to let you know the risks involved. And so, they're putting a sensor inside my heart, and there is a possibility something could go wrong. I don't feel anything except for a sting when they start putting the line down through my neck, but to me, that's not even that big of a deal. And I get to watch the camera. Well, it's not a camera. They have like a x-ray they do of my heart sometimes, and then they shoot dye in it, and you can see the dye go into all the different blood vessels around your heart. It's quite cool, I have to admit. And then after you get the dye, maybe like 5 seconds later, your whole body flushes really warm, and you're breathing, and a funny vapor comes out of your mouth. I guess it's carbon dioxide, and it's weird. It is weird, but cool. And so they do that like 10 or 15 times until they get what they want. Other times they don't have the camera to look at my heart while they're doing it. It's just they're going in and measuring the pressures inside the right side of my heart, sometimes both sides. The reason they measure the right side is, the pump is working for the left side of my heart. So they need to know that the right side is within normal parameters, because the minute it's not, that can be problematic. And there have been people who have left and right heart pumps. So that's always a possibility. If I can't get a heart transplant soon enough and I'm deteriorating, it's possible I could have a right and left LVAD or be stuck in the hospital. Believe it or not, there are people whose heart disease is so severe they cannot leave the hospital. And right now I'm enjoying life. I don't want to think of anything like that. I had a great summer, hoping for a good fall, and enjoying the time I have. And again, I always appreciate your input. I always appreciate all the support you've given me. Thank you very much. I will see you next time on Fast Gadgets. This video was made possible with support from viewers like you. If you find this video useful, consider becoming a patron for as little as $1 a month at patreon.com/fastgadgets.